Hello and welcome to the first ever episode of Channeled Conversations. I'm Camilla Hara, a soul coach, an author, and a divine channel who helps people fall in love with their lives and thrive in their self-expression, relationships, and wealth. By using my energy reading skills, psychology, and somatic work, I help people embody their most authentic and gifted selves so that their lives become easier, a lot more fun, and a lot more impactful in the world in alignment with their soul. And I'm here today with a beautiful woman in soul, Mitzie, who I worked with for a while and who happens to be my friend. And I let her introduce herself now.
Thank you, Camilla. And yes, I'm very excited about recording the podcast and reaching a wider audience with the conversations that we would typically have and the amazing topics that come up and the channeling and the answers and just how I can go out and practically apply that in my life. It's been fantastic and I'm really looking forward to sharing it with more people. A little bit about myself. I am a mother to two boys, happily married. I work in the IT industry, but I also have a huge passion to help people understand why they show up in the world in a specific way and also guide them along their ideal life path using astrology and energy work. I also run an online store where I handmake and sell pocket hugs.
Thank you, Mitzie. Her online story is very special, by the way. So the way we decided to structure it is that Mitzie will come up with a question that she genuinely maybe hasn't had a full answer for herself yet. And then I will tune into her higher self and into the source energy, to the oneness, if you like, and then bring forward answers that usually are both spiritual and psychological, and they make a lot of sense, but they're also practical. So let's see what kind of question you'd like to discuss today, Mitzi. I don't even know, so this is how we've structured it. So go ahead, let's see.
Yes, let's see
You'd like
what
to know.
what
Yeah,
appears because to me
yeah.
it's sometimes it's often quite a surprise to me as well. It's the question that comes up for me in the moment. But I think right now the question that comes up for me is that I'm finding it very hard to make myself show up in the world, to
Mm,
reach out to people, to actually just voice what I do or what I can offer. I think a lot of it comes from, but you've done this in the past, or you've done that in the past. Like, oh, the shame of having done that. And then
mm,
that fear that, but these people, they're going to come out and call you out as a fraud because they still
mm,
know you, who you were back then. They don't
mm,
know who you are right now and what
mm,
you've done. But that is a big fear for me. And it will make me not show up. It will make me
mm.
not even reach out to someone that I would like to talk to, but I'd rather not.
Mm. Yeah.
That, yeah.
And so, if you were to word the question, what would you like to know about that?
How do I show up? How do I show up?
Yeah, yeah. And I guess like a lot of people listening to this or watching this will be like, I also struggle showing up fully as myself. And I guess you also
Mm.
mentioned that there's like a version of you that maybe some people already know. And is it like you've got more fear about showing up the newer version or like the more developed you, so to speak? Or it's in general?
I think the fear is showing up as me now, who I
Mm-hmm.
am,
Mm-hmm.
and already anticipating that like, these people knew a different version
Ah,
and they're going to call me out and I'm going
okay.
to look like a fraud
Mm-hmm.
because
Okay.
they don't, yes. So it's about showing up without having to explain myself. It's about showing up authentically of who I am in this moment, but for that to be clear to the world and be comfortable with who I am without carrying the fear and the shame.
Yeah.
from years and years ago
Yeah.
that I
Yeah.
have consciously left. I've consciously learned that lesson
Yeah.
and left that, not left the person behind, but healed that
Mm-hmm.
version of
Yeah.
myself in
Okay.
order to move forward.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there's still some fear and shame sitting there.
It's such a good question, because there are so many kind of immediate angles to it that are coming through. So the answers are starting to come through at three levels straight away. And there's also a visualization that I hope the listeners will find useful. This is an energetic visualization that is coming through. Visualization. I'm rushing because it's so exciting. And but before I get there, I just want to also kind of highlight the two other points that have come up, or maybe like we'll highlight one point, then go for the little energetic exercise and see how you feel, and then add the third point. I'm just going to see with your higher self, with what our audience needs in the future whenever they're tuning in, because this is how I usually work. And then and if you're watching this, and I'm going to close my eyes, this is just because I want to tune in a little bit deeper into Mitzie's question and to be the most useful for you listening in and watching, and for Mitzie, of course. So I'm going to take a breath, and if you're not driving and listening to it and you're not doing anything dangerous that needs your attention, do close your eyes too and take a breath. And connect with your highest self, your highest sort of aspect of you that actually already knows everything and is connected to everything, including the entirety of your life. When you knew very little in terms of human life when you were a child, to when you're going to be older and a lot wiser, and to even beyond this human life where you'll continue evolving into maybe some kind of like mega consciousness, maybe an avatar of some kind, an enlightened being. So it's like connecting to the aspect of you that's timeless as well as the wisest. And even though at this moment in time there are parts of you that struggle with certain questions, with natural obstacles in life, that you've got this part. So take 2 or 3 very conscious breaths, making it present in your body as well. Almost like imagine that you're breathing in bright light into your belly, so that you've got a somatic, like a body connection to this higher self as well. Okay. And so the first thing that comes here from your own soul and from the kind of universal guidance for humanity is that we often form a version of ourselves based on the reflections that are given to us by others. So I see a human being, and this applies to anybody listening and to you, Mitzie, of course, is that you're standing there and you're almost like in a room full of mirrors. And behind each facet of a mirror, there's a human being. And they're reflecting back to you how they see you. First of all, from an angle that maybe you don't see, but also it's not an ordinary mirror. It's semi-transparent. So their own image comes through when they reflect you. So you see bits of them as you look at yourself through their eyes, because we all kind of filter information. So kind of feel this visual as well as imagine it. And if you're listening to this and you don't want to imagine it, don't worry about it. You can just listen. And can you imagine that, everybody who's reflecting this to you, they have their own story, their own perception of what, being a woman is, what being a certain age, coming from a certain country is, or maybe you're their relative. So they got used to you when you were 5, 6, 7, 8. And when they meet you and you're in your 40s, they still see you in that way. So their own sort of image is superimposed over yours. And when you look at them, because you're so sensitive, you would actually read what they're sending and not just your pure reflection. You would see your pure reflection when you look into the pure source energy, or when you're in nature. So if you imagine yourself walking into a forest or towards the seashore or somewhere very natural, it doesn't matter what mood you go there in, how you feel, what you think, what kind of clothes you're wearing, how much you weigh, what height you are. nature is going to receive you in every guise and form and state of being equally. And it might still interact with how you're feeling, all right, but it will not have this sort of like different reflection to who you are as acutely as humans do. So this is number one. Number two is something that the guidance coming through quite strongly, especially for you, Mitzie, is that, but it actually again applies to everyone, is that when you were growing up, what ideally would happen for us to get to know who we really are and not be afraid to show up in the world who we are, is to get a very loving, consistent reflection and feedback from those who are looking after us. And fortunately or unfortunately or whatever way, but it didn't feel very nice to us, definitely, when people weren't able to do it. They may have been going through a challenging time. They may have been traumatized. They may have been emotionally unable to regulate their emotions even at a basic level. So they may have been very irritable all the time. So anything about us that was natural to us could have just been a huge aggravation to them. And instead of reflecting lovingly, well, it's just how you are and I love you, they'll be like, stop doing that. I don't like that. Or you're giving me a headache, even though it has nothing to do with you. You're just playing as a child, for instance. And so these very strong reflections, because we had to rely on our caretakers for our survival, our very basic primal reptilian brain would have been very much interested in keeping the peace, in remaining loving towards these people who looked after us. And therefore, we needed to trust and believe them. In other words, we had no protection and no kind of logic to stop us from believing what they were reflecting to us, but it wasn't the truth anyway. If it's hurting you, what you believe about yourself, it's not the truth. It's not the full truth anyway. Because even if you discover something incredibly insightful and real about, say, a challenge or a particular sort of part of your personality you need to work with, like you've been hiding it from yourself, and it's not very glamorous and not very nice, still, if you have a wider perspective on it, it's not going to be painful. It will be very useful. It's like, I'm so glad I found out I do X, Y, Z, and that's what's been leading me towards ABC that I don't want, that it's not going to hurt. But if we're saying things like, oh, I'm not good enough and people will laugh at me, so like say you're scared of derision because maybe people derided you when you were a kid, or people will reject me because maybe mom walked away when she didn't like something about you. Or maybe I'll be punished and therefore I'll be terrified of dying. So maybe somebody screamed and shouted, so it was like verbal violence, or they could have even hurt you or grabbed you in a not nice way, or limited your freedom, put you like in a small room and locked it because they were punishing you. So that would be like a direct call to our reptilian brain for survival. And so these behaviors would have recorded as, the more I'm myself, the more I show up, the more I talk authentically about what I want, what I need, who I am, my desires, my dreams, the more dangerous it is. And that's what might be coming up. And so if that is happening, then it's very, very normal and natural that you'd be scared, for now. But that's only when we don't see that these are reflections that we actually caught, and we're sort of keeping them like images inside. So let's all take a breath as well on that and kind of notice if we have any such images. And they're not actually us. They're not about us from us. Like we didn't come up with that description. It may have come up as a result of being treated a certain way. And then Mitzie, if I can ask you to reflect on what you may have realized there already, or if you have any insights on that now, if you have noticed any images that you might be holding from others about yourself.
Yes, for sure. I think two things came up for me. And the first is like when being myself is being too much.
Oh, yeah.
for
Okay.
others. And obviously, as a child, I had that a lot, and at a very early age, learned what to do to not upset other people. And the second thing that came up for me there is, I think, being very empathic and picking up other people's emotions. So when they react, I imprinted those reactions into my brain, and that, like, what did you call it? The primal,
The reptilian brain or
the
primal brain.
reptilian
Yeah.
brain
Yeah.
is still hanging on to those emotions that I picked up from other people. And when I do something, I think that takes over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the program that basically like pops up, or
Mm.
the pattern. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Great.
definitely just I'm overcome by other people's emotions, even though those emotions were like from 40 years ago.
Yeah, which means you're still holding what they send out.
Mm.
Almost
Oh,
like if we think of these like
I
mirror
do.
images, that they're almost like TV projectors and they were like projecting stuff on. And the guidance are coming in and saying there's a very simple way of stopping that actually and changing that. And had a person like you and a person like me been brought up in a sensitive environment where people had known about this, they would, even if they do happen to project something towards us, they would have taught us the skills of how to erase those images so that we have a pure perception of who we are, and how to stronger develop a conscious connection, because unconsciously we're all connected to the source wisdom. Like, we can't live without it. It's like we're all in oneness at the quantum level. We're all one. So the highest frequency that's connecting all the planets and stellar bodies and everything actually is physically interconnected as well as energetically. So that huge wisdom, intelligence, oneness, this intelligence field that is moving the whole universe, and then it's beating our heart and it's making the leaves open on a tree. That energy is with us all the time. But at the personality level, which is something we develop based on what humans tend to project towards us, at that level, depending on what culture and what family we were brought up in, and what abilities and kind of understanding of reality these people had, we would either have this awareness of connection to the universe and we'd have words for it and we'd commune with it and we'd develop this, or we'd be like, oh, well, it's just make believe. And so we might have that relationship with the universe. So you might even have something like, oh, if I show up, God, universe, oneness is not going to like what I'm doing. I'll go into the bad list. So that may have happened. Moving back to the reflections from others. So they may have sent that type of reflection. They may have also sent, in your case, it's like you're too much, which I'm guessing was bad news for you, as in it was punished if it was too much. And your too much could have been like very normal child stuff. Like, children tend to be louder than adults. Children are unpredictable. Children are spontaneous, and there's a beauty in it. But of course, it's if somebody's trying to really control their environment, yeah, I guess this might be coming from whoever was around you when you were a child. So if you're ready, we might go into like part 3, where we move out of this held state. If you're happy with that.
Yes. Yes. Very happy
Okay.
to move forward to that. Yeah.
So, well, let's do that. And again, if you are listening while you're driving or something, or operating heavy machinery, please don't close your eyes. Just listen to it if you like. But this is a good. I feel it's going to be a good exercise anyway. Let's see what the guidance brings through. So let's take a breath, and I'm going to close my eyes as well. And again, imagine that you are always and right now this higher self that you are, this highest aspect of yourself. And it's not somewhere like up there in the universe. It is actually right within you, and it's all around you. And even though you've got aspects that are less bright and less aware, they're cool as well. They're fine. But we're really aware of this brightest, most aware, kind, connected to all, and very much relaxed and self-realized part. and take 3 breaths to connect to it. And as you're connecting consciously with your personality to it, let's visualize that it is a light that you're increasing within as you're breathing that light of your highest self within. And first it's illuminating your whole body as you inhale once or twice. And then it's illuminating your whole energy field. So say the size of the room you're in, behind and front, left, right, up, down. And as you're doing it, let's now sense and see that this light represents the entire universal huge light. So like it's a hologram effect, that one small part represents all the similar beautiful parts everywhere in the universe. A bit like our genetics in our body, like our DNA. If we take a little part of any part of your cell, we can read the information about the entire body. So when we look at the smallest part of light, you know, in one human being, for example, well, it represents all of the light of the universe, all of the wisdom. So feel how you're breathing and living. And if you don't mind the word God, well, then you're breathing, living God energy, or you're breathing, living Great Spirit, or universal love, or the infinite light and consciousness. And so as you feel that now, then imagine you are in this space that represents your personality. And this space is a circular sort of space or room. And you've got whatever number of mirrors you might notice at the front, to the sides, and maybe even behind you. And let your subconscious show you like how many of these mirrors you've got. And it will have people behind them, or groups of people. So for example, your colleagues at work might hold one mirror, but maybe your manager, the main one, might hold a different mirror. And then maybe your neighbors and your husband and whoever else, and your parents and friends would hold something else. Your potential clients would hold another. And just see if some of these mirrors you have no problem with, they feel light, relaxed, and when you look at it, you're like, oh yeah, that's fine. Maybe you've got that with your husband and your kids, maybe with some other people, but some of the mirrors, when you try to look at them, you might even feel tightness in your body. Like for example, there's something to your left, kind of left and forward, and it might be your mom or grandmother, and I feel tightness immediately in my chest when I kind of scan it. So when you notice these type of mirrors, these type of connections, the guidance are asking you to imagine that you now cancel this mirror as a reference point for how to be, think, feel, and live and act. And you can say it out loud, looking at just the one for now. And you could do them all together, but just one is good. So looking in that mirror that feels the tightest to you, just sort of say, I now cancel this mirror and the person behind it as a reference point for any and all parts of my consciousness, for how to be, think, feel, and act and exist in my body and in the world. And so it is, and so it is, and so it is. Or something like that. You can play with the ending of it. And take a deep breath. And see the mirror almost like fogging and then clearing. And what you're seeing instead is now not a mirror, but maybe a glass panel, or maybe the glass panel is going away. You're just seeing a person. You see them for how they are. And they have their own energy in their own containers. So maybe like guidance is saying, if you want to keep the glass panel, it'll help you sort of keep their world there in a way. And, or you can imagine that they're in a bubble of energy, like a very bright sort of their own life energy, but you have your own. And they're saying as well that if they're a bit too close, you can actually move them away, because this is your life, this is your room. And just notice the room doesn't have any particular walls, even though it's kind of circular, so you can move them as far away as you like, so that their own individual, maybe more negative outlook on life, for example, is not going to contaminate your world. You're not going to let that happen. And then take a few breaths and stretch your own energy and feel that I own, you can even say to yourself, I own my energy. I'm a sovereign being. I am a mature adult who is connecting with my higher self stronger and stronger every day, and developing in joy, truth, and creativity. Brilliant. And so as you've done that, scan your system and notice if there is any image left by this person. Could be emotional, could be like a story, it's like, oh, she or he or they did XYZ. And if it's kind of rattling in you as a story in the head or an emotional residue or just kind of like an energy or sensation in the body, see it almost like a piece of paper, like a little old-fashioned poster that people might put on the wall of their favorite band or something, that kind of a size. And you can like roll it up and hand it over to the light of the universe or angels or guides, or you can throw it into the universal flame, whatever way you'd like to imagine it going, and just hand it over and say, I release the energy this person gave me, and I fully forgive this energy for being whatever way it is. And when we say forgive, it's very much about letting go. It's like giving it away, forgiving it. So it's no longer part of your field. And I regain my own natural soul energy in place of what I've just given away. As I've realized soul energy in human form. And I welcome it with joy, love, and peace into myself. And take a big breath on that. Okay, now let's have a look and see how many more mirrors you've got. Now let's try and do maybe 3 or 5 at a time. So maybe there's one at the front, there's more like left, right. So see them, and we can even try all of them at once. And just as you see them, all of them, again, take a breath, see your highest self, and feeling and thinking and experiencing all these different people and groups of individuals that you've been permitting to reflect into you what they see in the world rather than who you are. Again, you say to all of them, and now cancel any and all projections from all people and groups of people that I know towards me as a reference point or a guidance or a directive or any other type of instruction for how to be, feel, think, and act at any and all levels of my consciousness and human being in life. And take a deep breath and see, like, literally the agreement to permit this is like just destroying. And all these mirrors are fogging up and then disappearing. It's like they just clear that image, that like all the different images people held, and then you see real people and real factions of people, or whoever their organizations. And take a breath. And then you can just see that you're starting to shine your natural sense of self in all the directions and letting it radiate in every direction. And then also remove and be ready to scan your system to see if you're still holding anything from these people within yourself, like an old residue, an old imprint. And sometimes we not only hold an image, we might be holding like a little directive for how to do life. So a little like program or a little protocol or a little pattern. So if those exist as well, you can just like in one swoopy movement and one pronouncement. And again, using your voice always helps, because your body hears your voice and heals the best by hearing your own voice, actually, when it speaks words of healing and praise and kindness and love, of course. Is that I now release all of the energy that any and all of these people and factions have projected towards me and I've been holding on to. And you might see like 1, 2, 3, or maybe even 50 different parts of energy starting to kind of roll up and go. And I release it into the hands of the universe or God, whatever works for you. And if you do happen to yawn, that's just energy clearing. So that's good. And I ask the universe to help me with this, or my soul, or higher guidance, or whatever you like to work with normally. Yeah, and that really helps when we do things together with the universe in collaborations. And then see yourself like rolling up all these old images, and they're just like disappearing and going away because you're actually getting rid of them, and the universe is taking them away from you to recycle and use them for something new and wonderful and fantastic. And now move these people and factions and groups further if you need to create more space for your own life to shine. On 3 big breaths, you just like set yourself up to be free and clear. I'm free to be me. I'm free to be me. I'm free to be me is always a good statement to say 3 times as you're doing it. Good. And I ground as this into the earth and into my body. Wonderful. And then the thing is, you can't completely disconnect from the world, even though we move these people away. So, but what we can say is that we connect to everyone through love and above or above frequencies. It's like love and joy and inspiration and gratitude and bliss and those kind of things. But love is like the baseline. So from now on, I only connect with all these people and factions through love and above frequencies at the mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical levels. And so it is, and so it is, and so it is. Big breath. And sometimes, you know, you might need to say this a couple of times as well, so it really kind of lands. But once is enough. And so now, even if they try to project something, if it's below the frequency of love, you don't have to take it on. But if it is coming from a loving place, you can totally accept it like a compliment or a gift, or maybe, as you called it, a hug in the pocket from them. So, or money or anything at all, anything wonderful. So big breath, and then get ready that you will open your eyes and you'll perceive reality differently, and yourself too. And once you have that nice and ready, then open your eyes. And Mitzie, let me know how you are now and what your feelings are about being in the world, but also in general, how you are now.
It just feels like I just need to take one more breath.
Oh yeah, keep breathing.
Open.
Yeah. And if anybody's watching this, for example, as a video, and there's a place to comment, please comment. You know, let me and Mitzie know how you found this, because it'll be very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I love the visualization. I have a very active visual mind, so it always comes in very strong for me when I visualize something like that. And there were so many mirrors, like it was just going off into the distance.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
So So that was a surprise. It wasn't just like a few. It was just endless, and it was probably for many, many lifetimes that I still held on to um,
Good.
those feelings. And at the end, the thought that came up for me was just like, oh, look at all this space. Once I've moved them all away, and I was just like, oh, look at all this space. Look at all the space I have. And that was the strongest feeling for me. It's just suddenly realized like, oh, I, I feel so big. I feel I feel like I can breathe. I can feel like I can exist within this lovely big space around me. I don't feel so crowded.
Yeah.
And
Woo.
yeah, and then also the visualization of canceling the mirror. It didn't actually take much more than that for me to cancel the mirror. It was very sudden, very quickly, just canceled the mirror, but it really landed for me to repeat the words and say that. But the mirror would just like plop, plop, plop. But it was so many. That's sort of okay, we're gonna have to help her here and help her plop these mirrors because there's a lot.
Yeah.
But it was very strong, yes. And
Yeah.
actually rolling up what was still left, the idea of the poster, rolling it up, and mine was burning,
Yeah.
and but not in a vengeful way or a angry way or anything. It was just it's time to move on to a different state.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I love
thank you.
it. That is so brilliant. And like the fire transforms one energy into the next. So there's a lot
Yeah,
of heat and energy released and it's purified. And then the ash actually nurtures the next thing in life. And I mean, like the whole universe is created through lots of fire anyway. So it's a big transformer. So there's no need to add vengeance. I'm just adding it for other people as well who maybe always like burn with some sort of
yeah, yeah. That was it. Was
gusto,
definitely not
which
an
is fine
angry
too.
fire. It was
Yeah.
definitely not an angry fire,
Yeah.
and
Recycling.
also, I appreciated but when you said that now these people do exist, and to connect with a frequency of love or higher, and that landed very strongly for me because I think in life when there was a difficult situation we try to completely block it off and cut it out and try to avoid it, and that's why it keeps coming up and keeps coming up, but connecting to it in a different frequency or at a different frequency, I really like that because because it's a higher frequency coming in,
Yeah.
and if it's not that frequency it just won't come.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
really love it.
There's just something else that occurred to me to add is like that everybody has different aspects to them. Like if they're human, this higher self as well. So we don't have to connect our upset or fear with their anger or their fear. And when we clear that poster, that energy, that image from ourselves, that part now is filled with our own beautiful energy. And this energy is based on choice, not on the conditioning in childhood where our brain literally was in a hypnotic state. So everything that was said to us, we kind of believed that it was true, and we believed we didn't have a choice or an option to do anything else. So once we clear it and we give ourselves an option and we change things around, it's almost like changing furniture around, changing the designated space for things. So almost like if we think ourselves as a house or a building, and say your family or caretakers or school or society was saying like, well, your house needs to be like a toilet and a bathhouse, and like people are bathing there and washing their dirt and going to the loo, and when we change that as a designated space to say like, no, actually this house is going to be a flower shop or like a play area for children, for example, or whatever it is, or a peaceful meditation chamber. Well, then like the sign is going to change, the energy is going to change. So people will come with a very different intention, and you will not permit the ones that say like, oh, can I pee in the middle of this room? It's like, it's not a toilet anymore. Excuse me, no. Basically, no. And you have a choice. But if like we literally, and it's such a strange analogy that came to me, I've never actually said it this way, but yeah, if people told us, well, this is what you have to do in life, you have to literally let other people's not nice things come in and you store them or you deal with them or you clean them periodically out of this, that's a lot of work. And we can just change the permissions but oftentimes we were not taught that we can change the permissions, so we don't know that either. So yeah, I don't know if you like that analogy, but it just came.
Well, it makes so much sense to me because I think a lot of us allow people to come in and pee in the middle of the room. And we upset about it, but it never occurred to us like, you can tell them that's not allowed here.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Yeah. And then we have like the actual permission that was not forced, but strongly invited by our parents to make, and we never know that we can unmake it. So this is this exercise, this clearing that you did with the mirrors we just did together. Like it's a similar thing. That's what just happened. It's like, oh, these parts of you that were permitting other people dictate how you get to be and their opinions and their attitudes and what might happen if you present yourself in different light. You were told that that matters and you have to keep it this way. Now we've changed it by like, actually it doesn't have to matter, and you can change it, and you have the power to do it in authority, and you can even change the frequency so that then you don't have to put the shutter down, as you were saying, because you're afraid. You can actually keep it open. But there's a very clear sign and very clear, maybe even like bouncer system on the door, you know, that it's like, no, this is not a loo, even if you're drunk. This is not, it's not going to happen. This is an upper class restaurant door, you know, or this is a beautiful park, you know, where, you know, okay, some people do pee in the parks, but you know where I'm going with this.
that's not the point.
So that's not the point. So, so this is what happens in our conversations. But anyway, so yeah, and it's so great that that question about how to show up brought us to this space, you know, and I wonder where it brought people who were listening to it and what they think about it as well.
Yes, and how they experience it, and if anyone else even feels that way. But I'm sure that you know, I think oftentimes a lot of people feel the same way, but it's very hard to ask the questions. It's very hard to become vulnerable enough to admit something about yourself that you'd rather not admit about yourself, because that is the first step of asking these vulnerable questions. It's like being willing to. And I just realized in that way, I've been showing up for a very long time by asking these questions, even though I
Yes.
didn't realize it.
Yeah,
But
because when we met, I'm sorry, I'm probably interjecting a little bit, but when we met 8 years ago, or a little bit over 8 years ago, I don't think you were quite as forthcoming or as open about it. So, like, you've definitely changed and opened and unlocked many of these projections that were holding you back. So, there are many ways to do it, but I love the new way that came through when you asked that question. Yeah.
yeah,
Ah, that's brilliant.
thank
Yeah.
you.
Oh, and thank you for the opportunity to do this. Yeah, and to open it up to others as well. Well, thank you so much for this beautiful collaboration. I really enjoyed it. And until the next time, I guess, until we do our next one, I'm looking
Next
forward
one.
to it now.